Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me is Mark Marex, Senior Specialist with Nasdaq Index Research, to discuss Nasdaq Yewno Global Future Mobility Index. Mark, it's great to see you again. Welcome back to Trade Talks. And let's walk through your first couple of slides and understand how the weightings work in this index.
Sure, Joe. Great to be back and talking about one of our coolest, I would say, thematic tech offerings here at Nasdaq Indexes. So this is an index we developed with our product partner Yewno that does a really fantastic job sort of building out analytics based on global patent filings. That's sort of the core feature of this methodology, is it screens for patent filings in areas that are specifically related to mobility, so some obvious ones, like electric and hybrid vehicle patents. It also screens for kind of future type of batteries, things like lithium. And then also some kind of adjacent relevant automotive technologies like autonomous driving, 3D graphics, different kind of optics filings, things that companies, auto manufacturers are using to kind of accelerate that adoption of autonomous driving and advanced driver assistance systems that a lot of cars are coming standard with these days. So that's kind of a quick overview of the methodology. Here you see on this first slide, it is an equal weighted index. It's reset every 6 months. So will not get dominated by any sort of 5 or 10 companies towards the top. You can see the top 20 at recent check at the end of last month made up just about 29% of the index weight. And then on the right-hand side, you can see the list of the biggest names. So you'll see a bunch of auto companies stick out there: Tata Motors, Volkswagen, Ford, GM. And then a lot of other companies that are either kind of directly related to autos, companies like Goodyear, and even some sort of non-auto companies like Intel that make the semiconductors that power a lot of these advanced technological systems and components that are coming into cars these days.
All right, and Mark, if we take a look at the index weighting by market cap and demographics, anything to share there?
Yeah, sure. So this is just a quick kind of visualization of, what's the size of the typical companies that make it into this index. You can see that it's pretty well diversified. You've got, a decent chunk of the index being in the kind of $50 to $100 billion market cap range and even above that. And then, of course, you've got, a pretty sizable chunk as well in that kind of smaller market cap range, 5 to 10 billion. 10 to 20, your kind of, mid caps and smaller large caps. And then on the right-hand side, just looking at the country exposures, this is a global index. It's not a U.S. index. And actually, Japan is the biggest contributor for index weight at a recent check of almost 46% of the index. U.S. is the second largest. So between Japan and the U.S., that's about 2/3 of the index. And the rest is made up of Germany, South Korea, and then a couple other European and also Asia, developing Asia countries as well.
And Mark, moving along, if we take a look at the constituents, how they performed for year-to-date 2021 and then overall in 2020.
Yeah, so you can see as of yesterday, the year-to-date returns, which are all in the purple, pretty much almost a mirror image of what we saw last year. Most names up on average. The top 20 index weights are up by 36% year to date. And you can see a lot of them were really negative for full year 2020 when there was that big, coronavirus demand driven scare at first, people getting worried about demand for autos tanking, especially from things like rental car companies. That obviously did start to reverse and pick back up towards the end of the year. So just a completely different story when we look at the kind of individual company returns in a lot of these examples this year.
And how has it performed versus benchmark?
Yeah, so this index launched in November of 2018, so it's been about 2.5 years now. I've highlighted it here in blue. By the way, the index ticker is NYG-CAR. That's what you see in the legend there. Up just over 53% since it launched, and that's pretty much right about where the S&P 500 has come in over the same time frame. I'm showing the Nasdaq 100, which is, as you know, one of the best performing indexes globally. That one is quite a bit ahead of this index. And then for context, I'm also showing our kind of global Japan index within Nasdaq of it's like 1,300 publicly listed companies that are based in Japan. Given the sizable exposure to Japanese companies here, really outperforming Japan as a kind of country benchmark, which has only been up about 23% in the same period.
And Mark, finally, how about assets under management? What kind of growth are you seeing there?
Yeah, so we've got one tracking product so far on this index from DWS under the X Trackers brand out in Europe, listed in Germany, launched in early 2019. And, we don't see very many assets under management trend shapes like this one, where it's kind of flatlined for a very long time, and then all of a sudden it shoots up like a rocket. I would say, certainly a big component of this is the fact that people have realized last year with the success of Tesla and to a lesser extent other companies like NIO in the EV space that, maybe there is a better approach to investing in the autos and related sector. And so I think this product, along with some others out in the market, has benefited with that kind of newer thematic lens that people are applying to the auto space. You can see the AUM up by more than 500% over the last, approximately 5 months, from 33 million to over $200 million as of yesterday. So really, really stellar growth, not just a performance story, a lot of great organic flows into this product as well. And, we expect it to benefit from the continuing trend towards all things thematic.
All right, Mark, appreciate the update. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks, and thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.